Okay. I am going to officially open the EAC meeting for April 11th, 2024. The first item on the agenda is the review approval of January 11th, 2024 and March 14th, 2024 meeting minutes. Does anybody have any issues with approving those minutes?
I don't think I was at either meeting, so I don't think I can approve them.
Okay, but we have enough without you, I think, Linda.
Please.
So all in favor of approving the January 11th and March 14th, 2024 meetings signify by aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. So that takes care of that. Now, the next item on the agenda is the 2024 long-range master tree plan and also a possible spring planting this year. I can give everybody an update. I've been in contact with Jim Majewski, and one of the issues is that the Public Works Director has not finished his survey yet. But I talked to Jim today, Majewski, and he said that that's going to happen very quickly because we've actually been dealing with this since last August. That's when the plan first came into being. So what Derek is doing is he's actually checking out the various basins to make sure that the ones that we are going to be planting trees in the 2024 plan are appropriate. The other thing, and Jim has also said that he will definitely have a signed off or a plan for us in the May 2024 meeting. The other item that I'd like to discuss briefly is the possibility of a spring planting. And Jim is going to be checking with the people who run the golf course. My initial thinking was that, it's kind of late, but we still should have plenty of time to get a small planting done in a specific area that's not going to change. And Jim felt that the plans for the golf course are pretty solidified, so that would be a good place to start. And he will be talking to the golf course director today or tomorrow. So there's a good possibility that we can have a spring planting there of approximately 40 trees. So that's my update. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
So my only comment is, depending on what spring is anymore and how soon summer starts, you don't want to go too far into June.
Yeah.
Yeah, Linda, that's why, we always welcome your input, and we will. Also, I don't know the specific species involved in yet, but as soon as I know that, Linda, I'll get in touch with you to get some input from you as well.
Okay. I mean, obviously, if they put any of the rain gators on them, it's fine then. But if they're not going to have any rain gators, then I wouldn't go past mid-June.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but I'm pretty sure that the specifications are going to call for, the rain gators. That's what we did with last year when we had that, I guess it was the spring planting, and that worked out pretty well.
Okay.
Okay. Next item, recycling, styrofoam plus collection event, April 20th, 10 a.m. to noon. We can, excuse me, always use more volunteers. Alan, I got an email earlier today, and it said that there were two fellas that, I forget what organization, that they were willing to help as well.
Yeah. Did you tell them yes?
Well, yeah, I didn't have to. They just said they're going to be there.
Okay, great. Do you know if it's Lions Club?
I think that's what it was, but I have the email. I can check
Okay.
that later.
Well, that's good because we had 7 before this, and so that would hopefully make it 9, and that counts you, Dominique. I know you're
Okay,
gonna be
I was
there at
going
the
to
table.
say, I don't know if I can help, but
Yeah,
I'll
and Paul, you're
be there.
there?
I'm still with you.
Okay, great. And so the Girl Scouts couldn't do it. They had some other event lined up, so it's just gonna be us older people. And Linda, if you got nothing to do, come by for
I
a
have
minute or two.
a lacrosse game I will be at.
Oh, is your daughter a senior now, or is she?
No, she's a junior.
She's still a junior guy.
But
Okay.
they had originally I had nothing going on, but they had to reschedule a game and they were rescheduling it on Saturday. So
All right.
there's
Well,
that.
the long range forecast is for a high of 63 and 7% chance of rain. So
Oh,
far
7% is
Saturday.
nothing. And cold, they don't
Yeah.
care about cold, please.
I know, but I'm thinking of the recycling event and then the
Oh.
falconry event.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right, well, that's actually great news. We have 9 people, so
There's Kevin.
that
Hi,
would
Kevin.
that would result in a really good division of labor, I think. Because we tend to be victims of our own success with this recycling. I think the last time we ended up with 81 bags, and the bags are like 55 gallon. So anyway, that should work out good. And by the way, Alan, I do resent you lumping us with older people.
I was talking about me, not you.
Yeah, I
Oh,
did too.
okay. All right.
All right, and Kevin, you're welcome to join us if you want on the 20th.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, you
Okay.
will? Well, that
Yeah.
would make 10, I believe, then. Wow.
Well, that's good. Kevin is our resident cork and battery expert. An essential
Sure.
part of the crew.
All right.
All right, that sounds good. All right, the next item on the agenda is LMT Birdtown, PA Falconry Exhibition at Memorial Park, and that's scheduled for the same day, but later in the day at 3 to 4 p.m. And we do need volunteers, for that.
Yeah, I intend to come.
Pardon?
Yeah, I'll
I
be
intend to come to be there.
All right, Gene, you writing down
I plan to
the?
come.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, Gene is writing down the people who are volunteering.
Oh, okay.
Who volunteered? I know Dominique volunteered.
Yeah,
Who
I
else?
did.
Paul.
I'll be there, Kevin.
I'll be
good,
there.
good,
Kevin.
Kevin.
And I
I'm
will
in
be
charge
there
of dog
because
control.
obviously I have no choice in the matter. So,
All right, you're bringing your daughter?
I hope to.
Oh, good. Yeah, she'll love it.
all right. I think, Alan, you said you're going to be there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Gene is in the process of writing up like a duty list. For instance, what I will be doing, I'll put 2 signs out on Woodside Road saying falconry. And then when you enter the Memorial Park, right before you hit the circle, we're going to need somebody there to direct traffic. And then when they go to the right, there's going to be a sign up place. And Paul was, I think, interested in doing that. But we'll have that all detailed and sent to everybody, so everybody knows what's going on.
Sounds good.
All right. And next thing, LMT Park and Recreation Cleanup Day request. I received an email from Monica Tierney, and I guess at various times of the year, this year, they're going to be have cleanup crews take care of specific parks, and they're looking for volunteers. So I told Monica that, yes, of course, we will come forth with as many volunteers as we can once we know the specifics as to what's involved in the cleanup, what specific park, that would be the EAC responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. So again, that's really all I know right now. I don't know, too much more information. All right, the next item is the park and recreation recycling recommendations that Kevin initially wrote up. Now, Alan and I, discussed that, and we did send a list of some suggestions, to everybody, Kevin included. And I think the way to proceed on this is that in Kevin's write-up, what he was saying, as well as Monica, that Monica would welcome input from the EAC as a whole. And then, we could sit down and, review the various recommendations with her. So what I'd like, Kevin, if it's okay with you, is to maybe cut down. I think there were like 18 and 10. Well, whatever the number of suggestions, cut it down to maybe a manageable lot, like maybe 8 or 10, with not more general specific recommendations. But for instance, instead of having something like reusing tablecloths, maybe a more general thing like using disposable plates or whatever. But I think you understand what I'm talking about, Kevin, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can take a stab at this.
All right. What I'd like you to do is hopefully get that, if you can get that done before the next meeting, and then just send out a copy to everybody. And then that will be an agenda item on the next item that, you can lead a discussion.
Okay. Yeah, and it's not intended to be like I'm presenting 28 things and I expect them to do all of them. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of things they can do sooner rather than later. Some things are going to take more time and more effort, but just, one change at a time, and we'll end up getting where we want to be.
Yeah, I agree. I especially liked the suggestion about the water coolers because, every time I see one of those single-use plastic bottles, it, drives me a little bonkers. But I thought that was an excellent one. Plus, there are several others that you talked about. So anyway, if you can take care of that, that will be on our next agenda. And like I said, if you can finish it before and send it out to everybody, that would be great as well.
Sure. And I welcome input. I mean, this is not me being a renegade rogue critic. Yeah, anyone who wants to provide input to it, I welcome it.
Kevin, the composting idea is good. It'd be great if the community center did that. And I suggested Kona Compost, Heather's company, and you wondered about favoritism. I did a Google search for composting in Lower Makefield, Yardley area, and she's the only one who comes up. So
yeah, no, I'm aware of it. I know Heather and I like her work. I'm just wary about how we present things.
Well,
I mean, we could just say use a composting company and then just let the township figure that out.
And you could note we gave her the Environmental Stewardship Award one year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Kevin, but it's also nice to support local business, and especially in this case when it seems to be the only one in town.
So hopefully that'll happen. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Alan, you're on next for an update on land use plans. We're going to talk about Fieldstone, and I think you have some information on the Wright Farm as well.
Yeah, two of them. The Fieldstone, we sent out comments on March 29th to Jim Majewski. All of you saw the letter. There were 6 comments, and I think we raised some good issues, some valid concerns. The woodlands definition, probably the number one, which it looks like they didn't properly designate some of the property as woodlands because the trees are big enough to qualify as woodlands. And so hopefully they'll correct that. The access driveways, they really only need 1, not 2, and we pointed that out. And some of their calculations on the number of units allowed, site capacity calculations. We had a couple comments on that. So that went out. I haven't heard anything since. I'm gonna talk to Jim Majewski next week and see what the next steps are, whether they're submitting a revised preliminary plan or they're gonna go straight to planning commission. So I'll try and find out. And the other project was the Wright Farm, the 50 acres nearest the I-295. If you looked at the map I sent out, and Kevin, you noticed it was a New Jersey certified or whatever.
Yeah. So they just use the wrong stamp.
Yeah.
I've done it before.
Okay.
It's just technicality.
All right, so they're proposing 47 homes on a 50-acre piece of property. Complying with our new open space ordinance, they're setting aside roughly 10 acres for open space. But it's a property next to the interstate and next to Yardley Newtown Road. So I wouldn't call it quality open space. The site has no natural resource protected land, no woodlands, no wetlands, no rivers or creeks, nothing. So it's prime development property. It does have maybe 20 trees around that house. There's an existing house on the property, and some of those trees are really large, close to 4 feet in diameter. But they want to take them all down, so that's their plan. Jim Majewski hasn't told us when comments are due, so I'll ask him about that again next week. But this is kind of similar to Torbert Farm. I mean, there's not a whole lot we're going to be able to do. Probably the most interesting thing on it is the access to this development of 47 homes. It's essentially a ride in and ride out off of Yardley Newtown Road. So if you're coming from Newtown or from Prickett's Preserve, I don't know what you're going to do to get in there, because you'd have to go down Yardley Newtown Road toward Yardley and then make a U-turn and then come back the other way to get in. There is another back entrance through another neighborhood, but it looks really out of the way if you want to go anywhere. So that'll
No,
be
that looks like a
interesting.
fire lane.
What, the back entrance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, I mean, you could use it to go somewhere, but yeah, it's not going to be used much. So I don't know how well thought out this whole development is, but that's what they're proposing as of now.
All right, Alan, I have a question. Does the Wright Farm actually abut the Torbert Farm, or is there something in between?
There's I-295, the interstate goes between them, and Wright Farm's on the other side. And this is just part of Wright Farm. There's another, I don't know, 80, 90 acres of Wright Farm that's has an easement on it, an agricultural easement.
Right.
The portion of the property closer to Newtown, not so close to 295.
So they're not talking about farmland preservation or anything. This 10 acres that they want to conserve, that's just, part of the plan. And
Right.
to me, 10 is better than 0, because when you have property like this with basically no resource protection at all, I mean, you can put houses everywhere. I mean, that's why farmland is a developer's dream. So to me, I think it's there is a positive element in with that 10 acres being conserved.
Don't get carried away here. With the new ordinance, they have to do that. 20% of the property, if it's zoned R1 or R2 or R3, I believe, has to be set aside. So they have to do this. They didn't have a choice.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. I had forgotten about that, but
Yeah.
So what about though the Torbert, or did that come in before the change?
That came in before.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that one,
the other
nothing's
item I wanted to discuss briefly too is the Harris Fieldstone subdivision that you discussed. There's some really interesting things. Well, firstly, to maybe some of the newcomers, they might not be aware that there is a dump on the property, and there's been all kinds of speculation as to what actually was in the dump. The last we heard was something like 50,000 pair of women's shoes, and the township supposedly used it as a dump for a while. So they can't, build anything on that portion of the property. Now, this is, believe it or not, the fifth iteration of that property. I've been involved in three, but there were two, and I think in the late 1900s that I wasn't part of. So it's pretty interesting. The problem is that a developer, they get in there, they start plans, they look at the restrictions, and then they come up with the conclusion that, well, maybe we can't make any money on this. So I think the number of houses specified, I think it was one time like 45, then in the 30s. And I think this last iteration is 29. However, based upon, the look-see I took into the woods, I guess a couple of weeks ago, that doesn't seem feasible either, because there is a large wooded area that fronts Edgewood Road that in the previous iteration did not classify as woodlands, but, plants grow. Now, there's no doubt, at least in my mind, that it's classified as woodlands, because we walked into it and I talked to one of the developers, and I said, well, look, this is not rocket science. Look all around. Everything here is bigger than 6 inches. And he said, well, maybe we ought to get an arborist looking at it. Well, I don't care who's going to look at it. I mean, all the trees there, the large amount of them are all greater than 6 inches. So I'm pretty sure it really classifies as woodlands. And then, of course, since it's classified as woodlands, there's prohibitions about the number of trees that can be taken down.
Take
So
down
this is
25%.
The beginning of this whole thing. So we're going to see what's going to happen. I think it's going to be interesting.
It will. So that's the latest with the land reviews. Everything else is quiet.
All right. The EAC lecture series, there's a possible lectures on single-use plastic and native plants, but we don't have any firm dates for any of that just as of yet. In the past, I have given lectures to several municipalities regarding Lower Makefield Township's native plant ordinance, and it's been very well received. As a matter of fact, a lot of them have adopted our ordinance on literally a verbatim basis. So I'm going to check my schedule and see what available time I have, and then I think we can maybe set up something during the next meeting.
So what about the single-use plastics then? Do you think, is it too early still, or do we need, because I think Farron is going to be pretty busy. So
yeah, I think the single-use plastics ban that we're very interested in moving forward with is a little premature yet, and I think we need a little more experience with Newtown's ordinance and with Wegman. Now, the interesting thing is Wegmans is already, banning single-use plastics, and I know Dominique is, very passionate about this topic, and she's certainly, going to be on top of it. As soon as we have valid, information that I can take to John Lewis, the chair, that's what he's interested in. He wants to see, some results on a local basis.
Well, can I tell you so far? Is it? Do you have time now? Or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I've seen the manager of Wegmans 2 days ago. His name is Dave Hammer, and I talked to him, and he said so far no problems, that everybody is coming along. A lot of customers are coming from New Jersey, Princeton, and they are used to it, so they are not objecting to no plastics. The only objection would be from people who have to pay for paper bags sometimes, but otherwise. And then when I went out in the car park, I saw a lady loading a car with lots of paper bags. So I asked her, so you had to pay for these paper bags. What do you feel about it? And she said, well, stupidly, I normally bring my own bags, and today I forgot. So, so she had to pay for the paper bags, but she was fine with it, no problems. And then yesterday I went to Newtown and went around the stores to ask how it was going. And Makefield, they don't have plastic bags at all anymore, just paper bags. They didn't seem to come across any difficulties. And then Hallmark, same thing, paper bags, and no problems so far. Pet store, they never offered plastic bags, so they were okay with paper bags, except again, some customers complained because they had to pay now for the paper bags, which they didn't have to pay before. But that's all. So everything, as far as I can see, everything is going smoothly.
All right, what about a discussion with the Newtown Township officials as to what they feel about the ordinance? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there one for the borough as well as for the township?
Right, so the township, they've passed the ordinance and it's active since April 9th. It's been so now everybody has to comply. The Newtown Borough, they've just passed the ordinance.
And they're not going to have a period of time to.
I think they will. I didn't go to the borough yesterday because they've just passed the ordinance. So I think there's a period. And I think from what I could see, I couldn't get a copy of the ordinance itself, just a summary from the press. So to me, it looks very similar to the one of the Newtown Township, which is very exhaustive compared to other townships. There's a lot of, they ban the plastic utensils. They ask the restaurants not to give styrofoam containers. There's a lot of straws. And I think the borough is going along with what the township, but I'm not 100% sure yet.
Right. Well, I think what the chairman of the Board of Supervisors is going to be looking for is some kind of a write-up from either us based upon maybe an interview with the Newtown officials. Now, it's my understanding that the Newtown Township one, there was like a 90 or 120 day hold period.
Right.
Now, so I think to judge, the merits of that specific ordinance, we might have to wait till that period is passed and then get input from the township officials. This is a little frustrating for me because, personally, I'm always results oriented and I like to get things done right away. But unfortunately here, there's a process. And if we want to get it done in Lower Makefield Township, I think we're going to have to follow the process. But I appreciate the work that you have already done on this, Dominique. I think it's wonderful. And like I said, though, but we need some input from the township officials as to the efficacy of this ordinance. And I'm thinking that it's going to be very, very positive, or maybe they have to tweak something, something minor, but I don't think it's going to be anything major. I did read the ordinance, and I believe a lot of these models were given to the various municipalities by Penn Environment.
Yes.
And they pretty well know, what they're doing because they've had a great deal of experience.
Well, I'm in touch with, I think I told you last time, with Elaine McCarran, who was the instigator of the Newtown Township ordinance. She's the one who led, and she organized lectures and things like that. So I've talked to her, and I can, I want to follow up with her anyway. So I'll stay in touch with her and see see what she
Yeah.
says. She's from the EAC of the Newtown Township.
Maybe we could just get a letter from the township manager of Newtown Township, maybe like in June after it's been in effect. You said in April it started, so that would give
Yeah.
them a couple months. And in
Okay.
June, we could ask them for a letter saying how it's gone and let us know if there were problems or whatever. And hopefully
Yeah.
there'll be none. It'll be a good letter, and we can just include that in any submittal we give to the township on this issue.
Okay, sure.
And you know, an interview would be harder to do, Jim, if to interview the guy, but a letter it's a lot easier.
No, I think a letter would be sufficient, and I think that's exactly, you know, what we need, as I mentioned before. Because I think, you know, LMT, we're always, you know, with items like this, we've always tended to be on the cutting edge. But, you know, I can understand that, you know, they want to be a little careful, that they want to do it right. And when we find out, you know, what others are doing and they did it right, well, then, you know, we can certainly do that as well. But I think we need some kind of, like Alan mentioned, some kind of a letter or what have you from the borough or the township. Actually, best situation is both. And then as soon as that's done, I think that we can start moving forward, start having maybe some lectures regarding the benefits associated to single-use plastics ban, maybe have Penn Environment here.
Yeah.
You have to give that some thought, Dominique, as to what you think the next step should be.
Okay, good, sounds good.
Is that, do all of the stores in Newtown have paper bags and charge for the paper bags?
Yes, I
Yeah.
asked, yeah, all the some of them, they were supposed to have a sign at the door saying that they would no longer supply plastic bags. Some of them didn't, so I walked in to ask, and they are the ones who said that they were giving paper bags before then anyway, and they are charging, at Wegmans, they're charging 5 cents a paper bag. In Newtown, it's 10 cents. Newtown
Okay.
Township, it's 10 cents.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So they all charge, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know another thing that we're going to have to look into as well as the use of the reusable bags.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes they're not made out of material. They could be made out of plastic. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those deals you think you're doing the right thing and, you know, it ends up biting you. But I'm sure we've discussed that, Dominique, and I know you're on top of that as well.
I have one thing to kind of bring up as a point. I'm totally on board with this. But in the status quo, who pays for the single-use plastic bags that are currently being used? That's the store owners?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you mean who pays for the single-use plastic bags?
Yes.
Oh, the owners.
Yes, they pay, yeah.
Right. So if the owners are now charging customers for buying their bags, are they doing anything to pass on those savings to consumers?
That's a good question, but I'm not sure that
no, they
there
are
are
supposed to
savings.
give the
I think
money.
those paper bags might be costing them a lot more than a nickel or 10 cents. But I
Right.
really don't know. What do you think, Dominique?
Well, at Wegmans, the manager told me that it was all going to charitable organizations. They're all giving the money to the charities.
Oh,
Like
In
the
the
EAC.
new, Elaine McCarran told me that it was up to the shopkeepers to do the cost of the paper bags to the customer was supposed to deflect the cost to the shop owners. So they were keeping the money because the paper bags are more expensive. So that's the idea of charging also. So the money goes back to the shopkeeper, and it's up to the shopkeeper to do what they want to do with it. but
Oh.
it's not, so
And have you
Wegmans now
said-
giving it to charities, and the other stores, I don't know what they do with it.
Yeah, because I've been at some stores that will either they charge for using their bags, or they provide a discount if you bring your own, or if it's one of those bring your own container places, they'll give you a discount of a certain amount per container that you refill. So I don't know if that's just an individual store policy, or if there's something we can do to encourage or discourage things like that.
Right. Yeah, think about it.
Mm.
Yeah, good question, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the municipal tree program selection. And I sent out to everyone the analysis that I have to get a hold of it right now, that Sumya had done. And she did really a nice job, I think, of taking a look at several of these municipal type tree programs. And I think like they had Tree City, BOA Community, Community Tree Recovery, Phytoremediation, Community Canopy, and Tree Line USA. My personal opinion is that I think the real poster child is Tree City USA. And I think that's probably the way that we should go. About 3 or 4 months ago, I was talking to Township Manager Dave Kratzer, and he had mentioned something about Tree City. He said, with all the planting and these absolutely wonderful long-range tree plans in Lower Makefield Township, he was surprised that we weren't a Tree City. So I think, that made sense. So my personal feeling is that, we vote on this tonight. My, again, personal feeling is Tree City is the way to go for a variety of reasons. Number one, when you look at the neighboring municipalities that have Tree City, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the only other municipal tree programs in the area, well, one is in Philadelphia, one is in Upper Makefield Township, and one is Pico. So to me, this is the poster child. And when you look also at the requirements on the other page, the eligibility, we've just about, I think, qualified for everything on there, except maybe having an Arbor Day observance. They talk about a $2 per capita budget, but with our tree bank plan, a $2 capita budget would be about $70,000 a year. With our tree bank plan that actually charges developers if they can't plant trees on site, we have what, Alan? Close about 300,000 now in that account.
Yeah, maybe 250. We're going to be getting some in probably in the next 6 months, so bring it up to almost 400,000. So there's a lot of money in there.
All right, and then there's other things like tree protection standards. And when we put in the low impact developments stormwater management ordinance in 2006, we put in some very stringent tree protection standards, and they have been modified and strengthened over the years to become what we call our tree bank program. So basically, we have probably taken care of all the requirements as far as this is concerned. So, before we have like a vote on this as to the municipal tree program to select, I would, open the meeting to any comments anybody has.
Don't you need a tree committee or something to be this? I forget what it's called. Some committee just dedicated to trees.
No, it's what it says is
I mean, could the
No,
EAC
it says a
do that?
designated tree board or department responsible for public trees, and that's our public works
All right, so we
department.
wouldn't have to do that. All right.
So we wouldn't have to do that. The other one is a public tree care ordinance. We already have that. The dedicated annual expenditure we talked about. Arbor Day observance, we don't have that yet, but that's pretty much a no-brainer. We pass this, we just tell Dave, okay, every Arbor Day, the board has to put out a proclamation. And that's great, it's good publicity and really no big deal. And then the others are just, resources. So I'm going to start looking into this, and I'm going to talk to, Sumya about it as well. But if anybody has, any more comments, let's chat. All right, it looks like everybody seems to be on board with Tree City USA. So
I just have one question. Sorry,
Sure.
I was muted. Does this require any time or commitment from township staff? Because that's something they'd want to know.
to whose staff?
The township staff.
Basically, when the requirements I'm reading here is no. They're already it's the Public Works Department takes care of trees. Period.
Yeah, they already do that. Yeah.
They already do that. So yeah. So I don't think that's an issue, Kevin.
Okay. Thanks.
And
All right. If the discussion is completed on that, I will ask if everybody is in favor of selecting Tree City USA as the municipal tree program for Lower Makefield Township. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any nays? Okay. That takes care of that. And this is good, I bike a lot locally, and every time I come out of New Hope, there's that big Tree City sign, that's, pretty impressive. So hopefully in the near future, Lower Makefield will have one as well. And I think this program, it has to be done in September for some reason. So that should give us, plenty of time. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Model Energy Ordinance Review. And I sent this out to everybody, and Tony Bush from the Planning Commission has asked for some input from the EAC as far as this is concerned. Now, I read it, basically all 18 pages of it. And, if you have trouble sleeping, it's always good to read something like this right before bedtime, because I guarantee it'll, allow you to sleep like a baby. But anyway, I have some suggestions basically dealing with wind power and, migration routes for birds and things like that. And I'm also asking input, from other members of the group, especially Kevin, because Kevin, this is, one of the areas that, you know a lot about. And also Kevin very shortly is going to be meeting with Township Manager Dave Kratzer. And one of the items he's going to be talking about is solar, as well as 2 or 3 other energy items. So what I'm suggesting, Kevin, is that after your meeting, you write up some notes and then, send them out, to the EAC so that we can take a look at them, before the next meeting in May. And then when we meet in May, maybe we can come up with a list of recommendations that we can send to Tony Bush saying, yeah, okay. From what I looked at it initially, I think the model energy ordinance seems to make, a lot of sense. But, I would welcome especially Kevin's input because he's more of an expert, in these matters. So anyway, I think that's where that stands. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, so I had actually reviewed this in a different iteration a couple years ago with Jonah. Um, and some of a lot of the comments I had were not incorporated yet. So just to recap, I sent them right before I joined the meeting tonight. The section on wind energy, I don't like that section. It's very limiting and discouraging. And it prohibits wind power mounted to buildings, which I think is very restrictive. And in general, I don't want this document to be restrictive. Same thing with open loop geothermal. We shouldn't be determining that. It's already being handled by the DEP and DEC. We should just refer to their requirements rather than rewriting our own. We're not experts in that. Want to make sure solar thermal is allowed, which is using sunlight to create hot water. I think it is just by the way solar energy system is defined, but I want to make sure it's not excluded. I want to make sure so community energy systems are permitted unless otherwise prohibited. I want to make sure that there's a pathway for that if it gets allowed at a state level. And I want to I wasn't sure what kind of teeth this document has. Like it's a proposed ordinance. There's a lot of language in there about shall, like streets shall be designed this way, houses shall be oriented this way. Is it something that would be required and enforced, or is it just something that is good design, good practice? I wasn't quite sure what the intent was there.
Well, in your comments, you might want to mention something about that, Kevin. So, yeah, I think that's a good point. I think Alan also, I discussed this issue with, and I know Alan had some issues about wood burning, about, maybe just the basic nature of it itself. You want to comment on that briefly, Alan?
Well, it tends to be highly polluting, particulate emissions, that kind of thing. And it seems like there's a lot better ways to get heating these days than burning wood.
Yeah, I was about to write about that too in my comments, and it's this document doesn't really mention emissions or clean energy. It just mentions renewable, and it is kind of renewable. It's not the cleanest, so I wasn't sure whether we should include it or mention it, or it did say it was by special permission. So it leads me to believe that it's not encouraged.
Okay, good.
But it's permitted but not encouraged.
There's nothing in this ordinance about electric vehicles and electric charging.
And no, I didn't see any of that. No.
Okay, I know you're going to talk about that with Dave Kratzer, and you should really push that. The township should have electric vehicles, and we should have a public recharging facilities, where the township, library, pool area, somewhere in there. That would make so much sense.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So push that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, right now, I had mentioned this the last time I chatted with Alan. In my bike riding, I go past Washington Crossing a lot, and right across from the visitor center, they actually have 4 charging stations, and they're actually open to the public as well, which I thought was pretty interesting. But, as far as electric vehicles are concerned, this is, an idea whose time has come. And, I think this is important. And maybe, in the procurement of new vehicles down the road, maybe we're going to go the electric route. But I think we definitely need as many charging stations as we can in Lower Makefield Township. And the thing is, I'm not sure how they are actually funded, though. Do you get state money, federal money, or is it local money? I can speak a little, Kevin.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to that because I tried to weasel through the requirements to get one at my house and get it state funded, but there is state funding for it. You have to meet certain requirements, which shouldn't be an issue for the township to meet.
Good.
One thing I want to also point out, public charging does not necessarily mean free. So if people are concerned about, spending township money and not getting revenue back, it could be a potential revenue source.
Yeah, well, reasonably charged, but the township, if it had vehicles, they could charge them free there.
Oh,
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
save a lot of money on gas.
Yeah, but it could be set up where they have a card and they swipe the card
Right,
and
yeah.
they know it's a township resident, township personnel.
Okay, well, personally, I'm finding this kind of exciting, and I'm really looking forward to taking a look at this write-up that eventually, in the not too distant future, we will submit to the Planning Commission and the township as well. So, all right, thanks everybody, for their initial input and what they're going to be writing down in the very near future. All right, the next one has already been covered, I guess. It's solar for LMT, and you're going to be meeting with Dave to discuss. That might be the primary topic, if I'm correct. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, that's kind of the primary topic, but it's kind of like, while we're here, here's some other things I want to talk about.
Yeah, hey, that makes sense. All right, the heritage tree ordinance. I received a call not too long ago from a woman in the northern part of the township, and she tells me she's got one of the biggest hackberry trees ever. So in the next week or two, I'm going to go up and maybe with Alan and Dominique or who's ever available and take a look at this tree. And we have a way of doing some rough calculations that uses actually a triangle. It's not super exact, but it certainly gives you, I think, a strong indication as to whether a tree like this would qualify as a Pennsylvania big tree. So after we take a look at this, also in the near future, we're going to be in touch with a gentleman. His name is Aaron Greenberg, and he is the one who heads up the Pennsylvania Big Tree Project. And they have a book that's put out, probably updated every 3 or 4 years, that lists huge trees by county in the state of Pennsylvania. And there's like a system. You get so many points for girth, you get so many points for height, and it's species oriented because obviously, an oak grows differently than a birch. So I'm a little excited about this. The Heritage Tree Ordinance has been in effect right before COVID. It went in, and then of course COVID, stymied a lot of things as well as that. So this is something now that we're thinking about, having activated. So again, I'm pretty interested in, taking a look at this tree. The woman also said that she had several other huge trees on her property. Now, this property is right near Cardle's Corner. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but when you take, good idea. What's the name of the road? Creamer. Anyway, it's a road that butts into Woodside, and there's a sign there that says Cardle's Corner, and there's 2 or 3 really, really old houses there, probably from the 1700s, and this woman lives in one of them. So anyway, we'll have a report next meeting as to what we found out. Now, the next item on the agenda, open space recommendations, ballot referendum. We sent out information to everybody, and Ellen and I have been discussing this project because, as far as the EAC is concerned, my personal opinion also is that one of the best things that we can actually do for the residents of Lower Makefield Township is purchase or conserve as much property as we can, because it's just a win-win all over the place. So Alan came up with a list based upon properties that we've had interest in over the years. And he's written up a letter describing these properties. And I should also mention that about a week ago, I got a call from BOS Dan Grenier from the BOS, and he was very interested in moving forward with some type of open space acquisitions. So it was fortuitous because we were doing this at the same time. So hopefully we'll get this passed tonight, and I'll talk to Dan tomorrow, about our intentions. But basically we have about, Alan's going to talk about maybe 6 properties, and also another previous letter that actually explained step by step how to place something on the ballot. And Dan Grenier was very interested in this. So Alan, you can take it from here.
Yeah, I think everybody's seen the draft of the letter. There's 6 properties we're suggesting. 5 of them would be acquisition. 1 of them would be conservation easements, and that's the Grade 9 Academy property on the north side of town. So I described the properties, the owners, and the development potential for each one. So hopefully it gives them a good background on it. We sent out one of these 2 years ago, but we had to modify because we had recommended Torbert Farm on that one, and obviously we can't do that anymore. So I think we got 6 good properties we're recommending, and hopefully they'll listen to it. And like Jim said, I'm going to send this out tomorrow morning to the supervisors and the planning commission. And we're also going to send a copy of a letter we sent out June 15th last year, which was the letter that Jim was describing, where we recommend that they put a ballot referendum on the November ballot for to authorize a bond, either 10 or 15 million in bonds to purchase open space. So I'm going to send that out with it. Matt, are you on the call still? Matt,
I am.
Okay. Yeah, you didn't see this June 15th letter we sent out last year, so you might want to take a look at it. Because I'm going to attach it with the email I'm going to send out tomorrow morning on the recommended 6 properties. So that'll give you a kind of complete background on the whole issue. So hopefully help you out. Okay, great. Yeah, and hopefully either in the near future or maybe in June, we're hoping to make a brief presentation to the supervisors on the ballot referendum, a few PowerPoint slides, and just tee up the issue and see what they think about it. But we haven't scheduled anything.
All right. Thank you, Alan. And by the way, when you talk about ballot referendums and open space, it's probably the only issue where you get about 70% approval from the people of the township. So it's been pretty clear over the years that people want more open space and that they're willing to pay for it. So, all right. And thanks a lot for the analysis, Alan. The next item, we got to move. We just have 3 short items left. The EAC and Township newsletter. And what I know is that Paul, and I'm sure Gene will be in touch with you shortly about sending out more information about the falconry exhibition that's going to be taking place on the 20th. And that's about the only item as far as the newsletter I know about. Odds and ends, Sonia's not here, but she was actually doing some work on the EAC webpage update, so we can kind of forget about that for now. And that leads us into open discussion. So anybody want to talk about anything that's on their mind? Now's the time.
Just briefly, the bird migration film was excellent. And a good turnout.
It was a great turnout. Yeah, I I had visions of 7 people spread around the room, but we had more than 70 people.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing because, you know, it was really an absolutely crappy night. And I'm thinking, you know, with all the work people did, you know, we're all going to end up with 10 or 20 people. And then they just kept coming in. And I counted, I think it was 70 or 71. So it was a very, very successful venture. And the film was absolutely superb. I think everybody there was very, very well pleased.
And everybody check your emails after this meeting. Matt sent out an email as our meeting was started. It had 2 documents that Susan Blundy wanted us to see, and they're in reference to the Trenton Mercer Airport and that issue. So just check your emails, and maybe we can talk about that next meeting. I'm not sure what's in the letters. I just saw them.
It's just a couple letters that the airport committee sent out to DEP to look into info if they can do any sort of challenge or anything. So if you guys want to just review it, then we can discuss it at the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Well, there's yeah, no doubt about it. We'll put it on the agenda for next, meeting, which is in May. Does anybody have the date for the next meeting? Let me see.
I'll tell you in a second.
May 9th. is
May
it?
9th. May 9th. Okay.
May 9th.
All right. Well, this is very good. I think we accomplished a lot tonight in a relatively short period of time. Any other input or comments from anybody before we end the meeting?
Well, at some point, we might want to talk about the tree giveaway that Tony Bush sent us the email on. Another township, I forget which one. They set up this system where they give away 100 trees, and you gotta, it's by lottery system. So you say what type of tree you want, and then if you win, you get your tree. It would be some work, but probably good.
Well, why don't we put it on the agenda next meeting and discuss it? I know I have some information. I think it's from Upper Makefield Township that they had some kind of a program that they would be selling. I think it was bare root trees at absolute minimum low cost. So this this projects like this are great publicity, I think, for the township. So we should put that on our agenda next meeting and discuss it.
Also, the Yardley Borough EAC does a tree giveaway program yearly. So if we want to look into that.
Oh, well, not know that.
Okay. All right. Unless there's anything else, I think we're going to end the meeting for April 11th, 2024. I want to thank everybody, for attending and for their input. I think we got a lot done tonight. So hopefully enjoy the rest of the evening and the upcoming weekend as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Should be
Thank
later.
you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Yeah.